I'm Emma, and you probably know me from Studio Prins, my design studio. In less than 2 years, I went from absolutely zero to selling one of my pieces for 2.5k and creating a bestseller that sold out every single drop. And so far, I've already sold more than 100 pieces. And I did all of that without a name, without a network, without going viral, without having a lot of followers, and without investing into any galleries or design expositions. So let me tell you how I got here. So 3 years ago, I had the dream of building my own design studio, but I didn't have the standard means of getting there. I didn't have a name, I didn't have a network, I did a technical study, I didn't do a creative study, I didn't know anything about business, and most importantly, I had no money to invest into expensive galleries or design expositions. All around me, everybody in the design world seemed to be investing into all of these expensive expositions, and I was made to believe that that was the only way that you would get your name to be big. So I decided to try something different, to create my own way. I started experimenting everywhere. I hosted my own expositions in my living room. I even started showing up at techno parties because, strangely enough, these people would pay me to be there versus at other galleries you would have to pay a lot of money to be there. So now I was getting paid for exposure instead of vice versa. But after those days of showing my work, I would be so exhausted, and quite often I wouldn't get a lot in return. So I decided to throw my efforts into marketing my work online. I started posting every single day. I tried lots of different content types, different angles, and I even changed my medium, but nothing seemed to work. So I kept trying different angles, different takes, different perspectives. I needed something to work, so I kept trying every single day for a whole year until one day something clicked. I sold out an entire drop in less than 2 hours, and that's when I knew I had something really special. And I knew it wasn't just the object, it wasn't what I was selling, it was how I was selling it. This was the success of an accumulation of testing so many different things, adapting, learning, overcoming. It was a result of implementing strategies that most designers overlooked. After these months of struggling to make things work, I had learned so much and put in so much effort that I had built a brand so powerful that people still text me sometimes that they think of my work even though they're not even looking at it. And I've built a community around my work, people that actually support it and love it. I've sold my work. I've created a whole marketing strategy. I've created a sales strategy. I've made everything work. I haven't just built a studio, I've built a business. And through this journey, I've gotten my objects in places that a design expo would have never gotten me. And I did all of that without going down the standard route. And so in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. I'll break it down into 6 key steps so that if you're a designer, you'll be able to apply this to your business too. But before we go any further, I need to say something that's been sitting heavy on my chest for years, because I didn't make this video to show off. I made this video because I want to change the world. I'm on a mission that surpasses great design. I'm sick of hearing that as a designer, you need this huge network, you need to invest thousands to make it successful, because that is simply not the case. You don't have to go viral. You don't have to have a huge following, and you don't need to start out with thousands or have a huge network or a name. And I'm the living proof. And I want to help as many designers as possible to do the same, to turn their creative vision into a sustainable business without the standard means of getting there. So I actually come from a background in architecture, and trust me, I wanted to be an architect my entire life. I studied for 10 years to become one. I had been dreaming about this for years, doing all of these classes, summer camps. It was my entire vision. But when I finally started working in the industry, it wasn't at all what I imagined. I didn't feel creatively fulfilled. I felt numbed by the 9-to-5 work structure that was just so not made for me. But most importantly, I realized that the pay was not at all what I expected, and I would have to work for at least 10 more years to receive the pay that I wanted. So with a heavy heart, I quit. But it shouldn't be like that. The world runs on creative work. We change this world. Imagine a world without creative entrepreneurs. There'd be nothing here. There would be no soul. And yet we're not paid for it financially. It doesn't reflect our lives financially. And I want to change that. I've spent the last 3 years learning the game, all the ins and outs, going through all the struggles. And I didn't just do this for myself. I did this so I can teach others how to do the same. Because your creativity, it shouldn't be a trap. It should be your vehicle towards freedom. And when more creatives learn how to lead, how to position themselves as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we will shift the power. This isn't just about good design. This isn't about content. This isn't about cash or followers. This is about justice. I'm here to bridge the gap between the creative and the financial world so that us as creatives can finally step into our full power, get paid and recognized for our work, and build the future we were meant to create. So that's my mission. That's why I'm here. And if you're still listening, maybe that speaks to you too. I've created an alternative route for designers, a way for creatives to turn their vision into a financially profitable business, all without the background you've been told you needed. And I call this the alternative method. So it exists out of 6 straightforward steps that you can apply to your vision. You'll learn how to build a brand so memorable that people think of it even when they're not looking at it. You'll learn how to reframe your offers so that it becomes 5 times more valuable, because because it's not so much about what you're selling, but rather how you're selling it. You'll learn how to showcase your work to finally attract your dream clients. And most importantly, you'll learn how to become the version of yourself that reflects the success, because a business is only as strong as the person who built it. But before I get deeper into the details of my method, I want to share my core philosophy supporting it, because my system has been built on these core philosophies. So my first core philosophy is quality over quantity. And this resonates in a multitude of perspectives. It's not, I don't believe in posting a million times a day, every single day on a million different platforms. I believe in posting higher quality in lesser amount. I don't believe in trying to go viral because it's not predictable and it's not reliable. It might get you views, but it's not going to get you sales. I always believe it's better to create a few pieces that are of much higher quality than to try to post multiple times a day, even every single day, and burning out along the way. I believe you really can do less and achieve more. So my next core philosophy, I believe that clarity is vital to creating a strong business. And I know that because so many of my clients have already gotten so many benefits from me just cutting through the crap, because even as a creative, our minds are also really creative and we'll go off into all of these tangents all the time. But to create a stable business, you're gonna have to focus, you're gonna have to tunnel vision, you're gonna have to focus on clarity, not just for yourself, but also for your clients. If you're not clear on what you're selling, neither will your client be, and confusion will always kill sales. I also strongly believe that strategy can go hand in hand with authenticity. We don't have to become these cold, business-driven robots to become successful. In fact, I believe that as a creative, it's your power, that vulnerability, that creativity that will ultimately actually help you build a strong business and help you make those sales, instead of thinking you have to become a cold as ice salesperson. That is just not the case. Next, I truly value truth over confusion. I don't sugarcoat stuff. Like, I don't want stuff to be sugarcoated either. I want people to just tell me the truth, tell me where it's at. Don't add a whole mix of words trying to make things sound prettier than they are, because I just need to know where we're at. And I want this from the people around me, so this is also what I provide my clients. My last core philosophy is that everything I do is driven by my greater mission, it's driven by my greater purpose. Every single time I do anything for this business, I think of my greater mission and I think of how these steps are going to get me closer to this bigger goal of changing the world for creatives, making this a place where creatives are actually able to make their dreams come true by turning their creative visions into profitable studios. Okay, so next up, I'm going to tell you every single step in detail of my method so that you can apply it to your studio. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a few little details of my background just so that you get a grasp of where I come from, which is precisely rock bottom. So like I mentioned before, I come from a background in architecture. I ended up studying at the TU Delft after working in multiple firms. When that day came, that I realized that this wasn't the reality I was looking for at all. This wasn't meeting my expectations. This wasn't my dream coming true. When I decided that I needed to quit to build the dream that I wanted, I was so lost. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I needed to quit. I knew I needed to chase something bigger inside of me. It was burning. But when I actually did, I was so lost. I was so confused. I was all alone out in the world, not knowing at all what I was doing. So I did what I do best. I started creating. I created every single day and night. I posted every single day. I made a new work at least every single week. I made a painting every single week, or I would make a sculpture every 2 weeks. I was working day and night. I lost my social life. I lost my sleep. I lost my peace of mind. I lost it all in the hopes of building my dream. And so when I started to realize that everybody was investing into expensive galleries and design exhibitions, I tried to do the same. With the little money I had, I would sign up for what I could, and I would prepare day and night for these expositions, put my all out. When I was actually there, I would try to talk to as many people as possible, but I would be completely exhausted after these. I would be physically, mentally, socially exhausted, and most of the time, I really didn't get much in return, which was devastating. So at this point, I was completely hopeless. Quite frankly, I didn't know what to do anymore. All of a sudden, I started to think that my dream might be completely intangible. But I kept at it. I kept trying new techniques, learning, reading, trying, building. And then one day, I sold out an entire drop within 2 hours. And that's when it clicked. This moment changed everything for me. I realized it wasn't so much about what I was selling. It was all about how I was selling it. I realized a successful design studio couldn't run on creativity and passion alone. It needed strategy, methods, direction, clarity. It needed to run like a business. So I started to learn everything about business. So I started applying methods. I created a super clear brand foundation. I shaped a beautiful offer. I created a bestseller. I created this beautiful digital storefront to my work. I attracted my dream audience. I learned how to sell my work, and I implemented systems to make my studio sustainable in the long run. But throughout this journey, journey, I've realized that I'm not the only designer struggling to make ends meet. I'm not the only designer struggling to convey their message to the rest of the world. But I'm here to change that. So without further ado, let's get into the steps of my method. So the first step of my alternative method is building a super clear brand foundation. So together we define exactly what your brand stands for and also what it doesn't. That's also really important. We define who your ideal client is, who your target audience is, who you're speaking to, and also we define what makes your work different from the rest in this saturated space. So in my opinion, this part is the most important. If you don't have a clear brand foundation, your entire business will be built on sand. And if your foundation is unstable, the entire system will crumble. So I strongly believe in making your entire foundation crystal clear. What does your brand stand for? What does it value? Who is your target audience? Know everything in as much detail as possible. What are your brand colors? What will you not do for $1 million? What are your fonts? What is your music? What do you wear? What is your location? Every little detail matters. Try to get as detailed as possible before moving on to the next step. So after you've built your brand foundation, we're going to start shaping your offer. And this can be the tricky bit because as a designer, we can either be a service-based offer or a product-based offer, but it doesn't matter which one you have because I have experience building both. So I'll be able to guide you with whatever decision you make. So the most important part about creating your offer is actually reframing it. This is the pivot point that most creatives overlook. It's about how what you're selling solves the problem of your target audience. The shift alone can make your offer 5 times more valuable. So we reframe your offer in a way that it becomes a solution to your target audience's problem. So you're not just going to be saying, hi, I'm an interior designer and I'll create these beautiful floor plans and mood boards for your new home. That's not the result your client is looking for. So for example, your clients might be hardworking people in the corporate industry that are craving peace and stillness after a long workday. So in this scenario, you would say, hi, I'm an interior designer and I create homes that give you this simplicity and peace of mind that you need after a stressful workday. See how that makes a huge difference? Now you might be thinking, Emma, my designs don't provide a solution to a problem. They're beautiful designs. And that's where you're wrong. Take my face, for example. Sure, it's not gonna cure cancer, but you know what? It might be the perfect solution for people with a modern minimal home looking for this decoration piece for their flowers, but don't wanna have this average looking vase lying around and then boom, my face is the solution to their problem. If you think your design doesn't solve a problem, it's time to think deeper. So after shaping your offer, we move on to creating your digital storefront. And you might be thinking, what is a digital storefront? So I like to see it as a digital gallery. This is your digital exposition space. So similar to a gallery, we want your designs to be recognized by as many people as possible. But in the digital world, you have way more capability of exposing yourself than in the physical world. So I want you to see your digital gallery as this space across all platforms where your brand is represented in the same way every single time, but instead you have much more potential to target your ideal audience. So let me break it down for you. What we want is for your offer, for your studio, your brand to be visible by as many people as possible in as many places as possible so that it will target your dream audience. So to build your digital gallery, we're going to be making content pieces for as many platforms as make sense to your brand. And now don't worry, we're not going to be making 100 different content pieces, posting every single day to every single platform like TikTok, trying to go viral. I was able to sell all of my pieces and create a successful studio without chasing any cringy trends or posting 3 times a day or even going on TikTok. Okay, I kind of did go viral this one time, but it didn't provide me any sales. It just got me views. Virality is really not something you want to chase. Like I said in my core pillars, it's not gonna get you what you want. It's only gonna get you views. Sure, if that's what you want to chase that. That's not why I'm here. I want to help you build a business. And that's exactly why we don't focus on virality or trends, because they're unpredictable and unreliable. So like I said, I also value quality over quantity. And I believe you don't have to be everywhere all at once. You just need to find what works for you. For me, that was having my Instagram platform where I had my most important digital presence, and there I converted all of my clients to my website where I had my digital store, and that's where I converted my clients. So actually built a successful design studio with just 2 2 platforms. It's possible. So I want you to stop focusing on all of these little details about what am I going to post? When am I going to post? What time to what platform? This, that, trend, virality. It doesn't matter. All that matters is thinking about what your customer experiences when they enter your digital gallery space. Does it speak for your brand? Does it really set your offer in the spotlight? Does it set your work in the spotlight that it deserves? These are the questions you should be asking yourself, not what time am I going to post? So stop stressing over the little numbers and start focusing on the bigger picture, because that's what really matters at the end of the day, is what's going to grow your business. It's not about showing up everywhere all at once all the time. It's just about showing up right with clarity, purpose, and content that leads your audience to your offer. So once we have the basic foundations of your digital gallery, we're going to focus on bringing your audience to your gallery, nurturing your digital space through traffic, getting your audience to your digital gallery. Now, this is where most people get it wrong. You don't have to have 10,000 followers, post 5 times a day, or hop on the next cringy trend. Instead, we're going to focus on doing this in a sustainable way that actually provides results and is way more sustainable in the long run. So we do this by having a specific look at your situation and approaching it from the most time and cost-effective perspective. When I was just starting out my business, my leverage point was time. I had more time than I had money. So I decided to invest all of my time into creating as many content pieces as possible so that I could get this organic flow of people to come to my Instagram and get translated to my online store and my website. If you want to scale faster, we're going to focus on creating fewer high-quality pieces and targeting these efficiently via ads. At the end of the day, the best solution will be a combination of these 2 methods depending on your situation and your goals. But I want to emphasize that the most important part here is actually having a beautiful digital gallery space that represents your brand and talks to your audience, that talks to your ideal client. Because if you don't have a digital gallery that actually represents your brand or serves for your offer, then people are going to be window shopping in an ugly space that doesn't make sense and nobody will want to buy. So at this point, we've built a beautiful, strong brand foundation. We've built your digital gallery and we've started bringing an audience to this gallery. But how do we actually make a sale? So sales is actually where most creatives freeze. So I intend on teaching you how to do it differently. I'm going to teach you how to sell in a way that actually feels natural and aligned with your personality so that you can be confident in doing so. I think, especially as creatives, we have this idea of selling all wrong. It doesn't have to be pushy. You don't actually have to force something down people's throats. It can be supernatural. You have to just see it differently. It's all about a mindset shift towards it, which makes you feel more confident towards doing it and also more successful. So how do we nurture these potential customers and actually buy what you're offering? So I did this completely organically, all by myself, just through the right messaging. So depending on your offer, your methods of converting your audience will be different. If you have a low ticket offer, I would optimize for quantity. If you have a high ticket offer, I would optimize for quality. And if this doesn't make sense, let me give you an example. So my face is currently my low ticket offer and the price currently sits under 100 euros. So it wouldn't make sense for me to hop on a 60-minute voice call with every single prospective client. So instead, I created a large amount of content to nurture them more organically through videos, stories, and eventually providing scarcity around the object through product drops, which is where I would convert most of my audience. So my high ticket offer is my wall sculpture, and this currently sits between 2.5K depending on the size. So I can't just expect a random person to convert into a buyer. Instead, I have to do more in-depth nurturing. So in my case, I actually had an interior designer from the US reach out to me, and we actually spent a few months going back and forth via email until I closed the deal. So depending on your offer, you will have a different conversion method that makes the most sense. But on the larger scale, you always want to nurture your audience through high quality content pieces. The average person needs to see something at least 7 times before they buy. So just imagine putting something out there, putting your offer out there at least 7 times. You want your audience to come to your digital gallery and understand what you're offering, who you are, and get comfortable with your brand. And then through this journey, get comfortable, create trust, create loyalty, and then allow this conversion to happen naturally. This brings us to the last step of the method, scaling. That's where you make your business financially stable in the long run. This is where you need to ask yourself what your goals are. My goals are to make 21K a month in profit through a combination of my service and my product-based offer. And I want to do that through capping my work week at 40 hours so that I can still enjoy the other beautiful things in life. I'm doing this by building 2 teams simultaneously separately, one for my service and one for my product. But I want to keep my profit margins as high as possible, so I'm only outsourcing the tasks that actually make sense from a profit and time constraint. To hit my goal, I'm opting to make 20K a month for my service-based offer by having 3 done for you clients and 8 done with you clients, and opting to make another 1K for my product-based offer by selling 100 faces a month. And I'm doing this because currently my focus is on my service-based offer, not my product-based offer. So this calculation will be different depending on your goals, your offer, and where you are in your business journey. But it's important to set your goal so you can start taking the steps towards the goal to make it a reality. If you never set your goal, it will never be a reality. With the right systems and strategies in place, we grow your business towards the goals that matter to you. Whether that's hitting a consistent 10K a month, more freedom, or building something bigger than yourself. You'll leave this process with a business that's creatively fulfilling, financially viable, and as a human, that's grown just as much as the brand. Throughout this entire process, there's a deep layer of inner growth because you can only grow your business as far as you're willing to grow yourself. We work on the mindset, the discipline, and the self-trust needed to step into the next version of you, the one that runs the business. So now you might be thinking, how do I actually implement these methods? How do I actually use these steps to create my own business? Let me quickly rephrase the steps to help you apply them to your own business. So first, start with your brand clarity. Start building your brand foundation. Ask yourself, what does your brand stand for and what doesn't it stand for? What would your brand never do even if you were paid $1 million to do so? Figure out who your ideal client is in as much detail as possible. What does this person wear? What do they listen to? Where do they go? And next, define your brand message. What do you stand for? What's your mission? What's your purpose? What's the bigger reason you're doing all of this? Number 2, frame your offer. Frame your offer as a solution to your audience's problem. This will make your offer 5 times more valuable. Number 3, creating your digital gallery. Focus on creating high quality pieces that actually speak for your brand to your target audience, allowing them to be nurtured naturally by walking through your digital gallery. You don't have to be everywhere all the time, all at once. You just need to focus on quality over quantity. Number 4, nurture your audience effectively. You don't have to post 1 million times a day. You don't have to have 10,000 followers. You just need to focus on implementing the right methods at your stage of the business. Number 5, sales. Learning how to sell in a way that feels natural, that feels organic, that feels right for you. And that also makes sense with your offer, whether that's a low ticket offer or a high ticket offer. And number 6, scaling. Focus on outsourcing what actually matters and implementing systems that allow your business to run smoothly in the long run. So I know that's a lot of information, but it was really important for me to share as much as possible with you so that even if you cannot work with me right now, you'll still have a detailed guideline of how to make your creative vision profitable. Because I can't stress this enough, my vision goes way beyond good design. I want to create a dramatic shift in as many creatives' lives as possible. To not only demonstrate that there is a way to make your creative dream profitable, but to actually implement it and have as many people be able to sustain themselves financially from their talent so that we can reshape the industry and with it, the world. You need to shift your perspectives on that it is possible without a name and network or investing into expensive galleries or design expos. It is possible without going viral or having a huge following. And it is possible with your skill set and your vision. It's high time for designers to get paid and recognized for their work. If you're ready to join me on my mission, I'd love for you to send me a message on my Instagram and we can talk about all things big and small. I only work with designers and creatives I believe in. People who are ready to put in the work, ask hard questions, and build something real. This is a partnership, and if you're all in, I'm committed. I hope to hear from you soon.